Welcome to Into Abundance, a Soulvana podcast with Regan Hillyer, self-made multimillionaire, serial entrepreneur, philanthropist, best-selling author, and the world's leading spiritual guide on abundance, prosperity, and soul set. In this podcast, Regan brings you the most powerful ideas, concepts, stories, wisdoms, and inspirations to help you rise and expand into higher levels of success, abundance, and prosperity in all aspects of your life.
Here's what you need to know. Money is just energy. Money is just energy. Abundance is an energetic game. Okay, it's an energetic game. Abundance is really learning how to play with a whole lot of different codes and wave patterns and frequencies and vibrations as we work with the energy to pull it into our reality. Now, this is not a far-fetched woo-woo comment of, just be in the right energy and everything will just manifest and show up. No, of course, there's specific things which get to take place. There's specific things which really get to be in alignment in your physical world in order to create the reflection financially that we're looking to create. And one of the tools which is so important to get clear on is your energetic container. So if we dive into the concept of believing and knowing that money is just energy, well, if energy is flowing into your life, if energy is flowing into your field, if there was money all around you, if there is no container to catch the energy, then it's going to just flow right past you. You see, I really believe that money is everywhere because energy is everywhere. And money is literally all around you and your body and your field right now. The question is your container big enough to actually catch the energy that is looking to flow through? Now, you might start wondering, well, how do I know where my container's at? Well, a really great way to figure this out is to look at the money that is flowing into your reality right now. Have a look at what comes in on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, and a yearly basis. That is a total reflection of exactly where your container is at. So for most people listening to this, you're probably thinking right now, okay, well, I'm aware of where my container is at roughly, but I would like to expand it. In fact, find me a human who doesn't want to expand their energetic container so it's able to catch more money and lock it into the physical, which we then receive as reflections back in our day-to-day reality in terms of an increase of money and or income. So in order to do this, we need to start looking at expanding our container. And something magical happens when we go through this process and when you really get into the work around this, is that all of a sudden you start remembering that, hang on, I actually potentially even get to do less and receive more, because you start to remember that, well, if receiving the money is linked to the container and the capacity to catch the energy through the container, then what has that got to do with working harder or doing more? You see, if everyone who was working really, 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 really hard right now, if that was the key, then I know a lot of people working really, really, really hard who would be probably multimillionaires by now. Yet I also know a lot of multimillionaires who are living into their purpose and their passion and really changing the world and doing great things. Yet some of them don't actually work as hard as the people struggling and working so hard each and every single day. This is literally because they've realized that these two things aren't linked. And it's a huge distortion in the field of humanity where we've been taught and shown and conditioned over the years that if we want to receive more, we have to do more. Well, if we want to receive more, what if we had to instead expand more? Okay, and now here's the thing. If we're only able to receive what we're capable of expanding into, then what happens is that when we set a bigger goal or a bigger vision, just like in the last chapter where you connected to the vision of what you're calling in financially, I know it might be a really, really, really big vision, which is great. But the thing is that when people connect to this, they fall into the trap of hitting a limit with their container. And what this means is that financially, they'll hit the limit and they won't be able to allow more of the money to come into their life. Now, this is where you see people hitting their energetic cap or their energetic upper limit. And you'll see them try and create a new business or try a different strategy or get a new job or work harder. Yet, in general, they'll generally earn roughly the same amount of money per year or per month when they add it up. Why is that? Because they're looking to to shift all of this from the outside instead of expanding the container and moving beyond their higher limit. So how do we do this with all of this awareness now grounded into our field? How do we shift this? Here's what I'm going to invite you to go into right now. I'm going to invite you to go into a process where the vision that you saw in chapter number 2 on leaning into your 5D reality, that vision that you saw where your life was totally at its max of being totally abundant, financially successful, whatever tags you want to put on it, exactly what you saw, which is probably your generally pretty big picture around financial abundance. Well, here's the thing. If you were living into that vision right now, if you were walking and talking and acting through it, if you were waking up in it every single day, if that was your version of normal, all of that was done. That's not your vision, that was done. If you were living into that, then what would your vision be? What would be the next level of your financial abundance that you were looking to call in? You see, if you were seeing the vision of manifesting $100,000, for example. And if you had already received the $100,000 and you were living into the life where you were already living in and receiving the $100,000 and it was there, then your vision probably isn't going to be to manifest $100,000. It might be 120, it might be 150. What is it? What is the vision beyond your vision? Now, I know when you start asking yourself these questions, this can break your brain a little bit. And I know for some people, they get into a place and they think, I can't think that big. That's too big. I've already done my biggest vision possible in the last chapter. What could be next? And just notice that this is you hitting your cap, right? This is you hitting your energetic side of your container. Now, this is part of pushing through this resistance and this layer of being uncomfortable. When we nudge and lean into this, we start expanding the container. We start shifting so that the container moves and opens, and we have the capacity to literally expand our awareness, our mindset, our emotions, our energy, all of it starts to increase and expand. And then from this place, all of a sudden, that big picture in chapter number 2, that huge reality from your higher self, well, that just becomes a stepping stone to where you actually get to go. That's done because, of course, that has to happen in order for you to then manifest the next layer of what you're calling in financially. So this is your task that I invite you to dive deep into right now. I want you to journal on this, go deep on this, really spend time meditating, feeling into this, and simply ask yourself, if I was already living into the big picture reality of financial abundance in my life, then what would my vision be? What would my big picture be? What would be that next layer? What is that next step? What would I be focusing on? What would I be excited about? What would I be wishing and hoping and praying would manifest? What would I be connecting to? And the key with this right now is to get into detail with this. The clearer you are, the more specific you are, the more you're going to be able to grasp onto this in your conscious and in your unconscious mind. And then the faster you do this in terms of the depth of the detail you go into, the quicker your container starts to expand to support this new vision, which you're painting into your reality. Now, another hack with this process is to write all of this out as if it's done. You see, you're not going to write, okay, well, I wish my vision would be this, and I hope and pray that I would manifest that, and maybe one day it would be awesome to have this. Instead, you're going to write out, I'm so happy and grateful that this vision is now my reality. I'm so happy and grateful that this has already shown up in my life. I'm so happy and grateful that I open my internet banking and I see this amount of money in my savings. Get really clear, get really specific, and write it out as if it is done. This is going to set you up in the perfect place for chapter 4, where we start looking at what is the financial distortion from humanity, which has been overmapped and imprinted into your field, and how do we then shift that and release that so that your manifestations that you're calling in this layer here in chapter 3 can manifest with ease and with grace and with flow. But for now, enjoy expanding your capacity to receive. Enjoy pulling the edges of this container and allowing yourself to go into the big picture, remembering if my vision was already my reality, then what would my vision be? Enjoy.
Dear listener, if you resonate with Regan and her style and would like Regan to help you rise, expand and manifest greater levels of abundance, you'll absolutely love her free immersions and her journey on Soulvana. To get and experience more abundance magic from Regan, simply visit soulvana.com/Regan or click the link in the description of this episode. Would you like Regan to cover a specific topic on her podcast, help you with a specific challenge, or answer your question, or perhaps send a message to Regan? Simply visit soulvana.com/Regan or click the link in the description of this episode. Thank you so much for being here, and we can't wait to connect with you energetically in another episode. See you soon.